Yeah. Oh, it's so hard to see. Okay. We can go. And I apologize because of the golf tournament going on, but we do have some very serious weather right now for those in Cumberland County that are going to be affected. And all of us are going to be affected this evening, but this is the first area that is getting affected by some of these strong to severe thunderstorms. There is a tornado warning in effect now for part of Cumberland County. It goes through 6:30 Eastern Time. And that particular storm is just one of them that has had a history of triggering severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings. This storm is moving to the east-northeast at about 45 miles per hour. You can see it right there. I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer on it for you to give you an idea of exactly who is affected. See, it's just barely in the northwestern quadrant of the county, just south of Clark Range. And that storm, you can see it's back towards Sparta and Doyle, and it will continue to move toward Mainland here very quickly by moving at 45 miles an hour. It is a radar indicated rotation. It doesn't mean there is a tornado on the ground, but there very well could be. So you want to make sure that you take proper precautions, especially if you live in that area and anywhere near it, to head to a safe place. Perhaps don't go out until things do get a little better, as the conditions will eventually improve later on tonight. In the meantime, I'm going to track this out just to give you an idea of some of the other places that are going to be involved. It's going to be moving into Mainland, about 9 minutes from now, and also getting to Clark Range at about 18 minutes, Sandy at about 20 minutes, Jamestown at about 28 if it holds together. There are also severe thunderstorm warnings, you notice, that have been issued back to the west of us toward McMinnville and also Smithfield. None for us just yet, but as these storms continue to advance, it is likely that we're going to have more watches and warnings issued. Look at this. This is showing the line that is developing all the way across East Tennessee and moved into central part of the state from the west part, and will eventually move to the east by about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. So it's going to be with us for quite a while. Now, as I pan to the south, I will show you a few other parameters first, but I'm going to pan to the south and see these boxes that are shaded in pink. Well, those are confirmed tornadoes. So there have been a number of tornadoes issued with this particular line of thunderstorms. Tornado warning, that's southward into Alabama, into Georgia. Is going to be a very active night tonight. Now, going back to that particular storm that's near Sparta, this is velocity, and the red shows you what's moving away from the actual radar site. And the radar site it's taking at the moment is the one over Nashville, not the one over Knoxville. So the wind is moving away, but the green it's moving toward. So right in that area could be the rotation that we're talking about. And that particular rotation could end up dropping a tornado on the ground. You can see it clearly there. Also, we've had a line of shear tracks. Now this shows the shear in the atmosphere. That means winds going at different directions as you go up in the atmosphere, and that causes turbulence, that causes potential for a spin, and it causes very gusty winds. You can see the shear tracks have weakened as they move into Sparta. That's good news, but it's still there. So there's still some shear around that particular storm. Don't forget, we also have other things we have to worry about this evening. High wind warning in the higher elevations of the mountains. 80-mile-an-hour wind gusts, not out of the question with some of those storms. The rest of us, we have wind advisories. Wind damage is going to be the main threat with these particular storms. There's the tornado watch, which includes the northern and the central part of Cumberland County, you see, and then also north up toward Jamestown and Fentress. Flood watch includes all that area and the rest of us shaded in green because the potential amount of rain. Excessive rainfall, elevated. We could get quite a bit, and look, it's significant back over the plateau. Of course, they need the rain, but they definitely don't need that much at once. So probably some flash flooding is going to happen. When this pops up, this will show you the different risks now. It has been changed. Severe risk is likely in the brown area in the upper left quadrant. And you can see some significant showing up in the counties down toward Ray, Meigs, and McMinn County. So that's a big deal. And if you look at that, it corresponds right with the damaging wind risk, which is the biggest risk we have right now. That's the box right below it. Tornado risk has lessened somewhat, but it's not absent. So we still have a slight tornado risk and a slight damaging hail risk, although much of this is just going to be wind and heavy downpours and frequent lightning for the most part. So your severe impacts, just to give you an idea of what's coming, we are going to have power outage, down trees at a very high impact, localized flooding, certainly possible, and then tornadoes, although not as likely, isolated ones are possible, and up to quarter-size hail with any of these storms are always possible. Okay, back to just a review real quick, and I'll keep letting you know what's going on with this storm as it continues to develop and move toward the northeast. We have a tornado warning until 6:30 Eastern time. So we have a tornado warning for another 45 minutes that'll be ongoing for those in Cumberland County. Now that doesn't mean there's one on the ground. We haven't a confirmation yet. It's just radar indicated, but we'll continue to track that storm system and watch it for you as it continues to produce heavy downpours. Now if you look, there have been several severe thunderstorm warnings issued, and that's due to the potential for gusty winds of greater than 60 miles an hour. 60 miles an hour can cause damage, and also if we get that kind of rain, as a matter of fact, I wanted to show you that. That's one thing I missed, and I'm going to show you how much rain really is happening in that area because it is coming down in buckets. Precipitation rate, here we go. And I have been watching this pretty carefully in some of these areas, and it's coming down between 2 and 3 inches per hour in some very heavy downpours with some of these storms. Of course, most of it is about 1 inch to 2 inches per hour, which is a pretty healthy amount of rain. But look as you go up toward Cookeville, precipitation rate 2 and almost 3/4 of 1 inch per hour. These storms, and these aren't going to be the last of them, if we get any more training over some of the same areas, going to lead to some flooding risks. So most likely we'll see some flooding with some flash flood warnings being issued eventually out of these storms. Let's go ahead and back this up, show you all of what's happening with this particular system, because it's not only us. We have an effect all the way down south into Louisiana. There has been a number of severe thunderstorm warnings, tornado warnings, a lot of tornadoes that have been on the ground. There have been tornadoes back in Arkansas and caused a lot of serious damage there. So that's the reason why we're really focusing on this particular system, and we have been focusing on it for the past number of days, just because the possibility has been lingering as this storm system is so powerful. The low pressure itself is up to the north of us, but it is a very deep low. And it's colliding with all that moisture out ahead of it, and also cold air. It's being wrapped in the upper levels behind it. It's causing some more instability. Potential rainfall. This is showing you how much rain. You can see the heaviest amounts, for the most part, are going to be westward. I know the rapid precision one there shows a little bit more to the south. And these are 4 different projections, so you just have to take it with a grain of salt and maybe eyeball it and take a look that we could get some very heavy rain of 2 to 3 inches west and southwest in our area. The rest of it's about 1 inch of rain to maybe 2 inches possible, especially with some of these thunderstorms individually coming in. And it could end up leading to more than that if you get more numerous thunderstorms than just 1 or 2. Taking you back to the actual storm system itself, let me look a little closer to that particular system. We have 1 severe thunderstorm warning and 1 tornado warning that just intersects the northern part. I'm going to back up and take a look while you look at that in motion, whether or not we have any confirmations. I have to look at some data here, and just to see if there's anything. One moment. No indication as of yet directly that we do have a tornado at all. It's radar indicated once again. So there's Monterey, and it's just north and outside of that particular storm back toward the east. So you're probably hearing that, the rumbles of thunder, perhaps seeing some flashes there off in the distance, heavy rains, and it'll be moving in very, very soon. And it's moving out of Sparta, and it moves up toward the northeast, toward Clark Range. That's what we're watching very carefully, whether it makes it there or not. The velocity is still pronounced as very strong winds, at least associated with it, right around Cookeville. You see the brighter hues that are in pink. That is showing you very strong wind interacting with wind coming the opposite direction. And in this area, I'm going to try to highlight that for you to show you. This area right here is the one that we're watching. And that area could be having that spin. And there's also a possibility back down south of Sparta as well, with a broad level rotation in the upper levels. Shear tracks at least have diminished somewhat. I didn't like to see those light blues show up. At least we don't have any purples show up with that, showing extreme shear. But we're still getting shear enough to perhaps cause this spin to continue. Let me go ahead and look at the latest. There has been a reissuing of that particular tornado warning at this time, and it remains in effect, so it hasn't been dropped by any means. It's still radar indicated. So in these areas, yes, there could be a tornado and there could be flying debris. So make sure that you take shelter immediately in the place that you know that's safest. It's safest in your first floor of your house. Surround yourself with as many walls as possible, preferably into an interior small room, closet, bathroom without any windows. That will protect you the most if this is an actual tornado. So take cover in these areas. It's going to be around Monterey not too long from now, 4:55, and of course that's Eastern time. Central time has also been given, so just be aware of those time frames. This is still going on through 6:30, but it's Eastern time, so it'll continue to be a problem for the next perhaps 30 minutes or so. So 6:30 Eastern time, it will continue to affect those that are over Cumberland Plateau. Severe thunderstorm warning, you notice for Putnam, Van Buren, Warren, and White, but that has been reissued a couple of times. I wouldn't be surprised if we get another severe thunderstorm warning that does affect some of these other counties, especially in and around Crossville. North of Crossville, you get up toward Fentress, they're getting some very heavy downpours there. No concern, it's coming in of a tornado by any means there, but that's just heavy rain and strong wind. Some of the wind could be so strong that it could be up to 40 to 50 miles an hour and still not necessarily make it to the criteria of severity. But we're watching that entire line as it moves in. I'll get a better picture once we get this off of the plateau and it starts getting more into the valley, to where we'll have a better indication of velocity from our own local radar that's a bit closer. I haven't seen any hail tracks associated with this particular storm. Let me go ahead and observe that at this time. At least nothing in our area has shown any hail tracks. So hail is a minimal risk at the moment. You can see some that happen probably right around Murfreesboro there. You can see outside of Eagleville, they have had some hail that showed up there, at least the tracks that there was possibility of it. All these storms always have a possibility of a hail risk depending on the turbulence of the thunderstorm itself. The extreme updrafts and downdrafts that happen with these storms can cause the hail to form because it carries it up into much colder atmosphere in the upper levels than it does elsewhere. So that's why we have a potential for just some small hail, maybe up to quarter size if it gets to damaging hail. But what we're really concerned with is wind. And of course, tornadoes can be a product of that wind if there's turbulence and spin in the atmosphere. This is in motion over the last hour. So it hasn't taken very long to get from what it looks like, let me see where it started, just outside of Murfreesboro, all the way to Sparta. And one other thing to notice, and I'm going to pause it for you. watch this. I'll put it slower and go backwards. You see the bowing effect that's happening right there? I'll highlight it for you with, try to draw it on there so you can see what I'm talking about. Right in this area. See how it's bowing? Now that's not a good sign. That usually shows very strong wind being transferred down to the surface. Could be some very straight line gusty winds headed toward McMinnville there. And even if there wasn't a tornado associated with it, you're bound to get some very heavy downpours along with gusty winds in that direction. Let me go back to the velocity for you. You can see there has been some turbulence there, some strong wind, but definitely not as much as we see up toward Cookeville, where there seems to be a little bit stronger wind and also more turbulence right around Sparta. You see that little cove that's happening there with the green and the red? So that area is the biggest concern. Almost kind of looks like a Pac-Man trying to eat Sparta. That is what I'm talking about with the turbulence that could be in that particular storm and having a spin enough to get it to the ground. So that tornado warning is still in effect. It's for Cumberland primarily, but of course Putnam and White are included since it started down toward Spartanburg and it continues to move toward the northeast. Mayland is right in the firing line of that storm system, at least the southern part, but Monterey is definitely going to be impacted tremendously with this particular line that's coming in. Hopefully it's just a spin in the upper levels and nothing will ever get translated down to the ground, at least with that storm like we've been seeing well to the south of where we are. Again, most of the energy that is of highest significance is down in this area. I'll take off the sweeping radar so you can see the different tornado warnings that have been issued. See, there are 3 different ones there that are in pink, and if we see one pop up that's pink, we know it either has been verified by eyeballs on the ground or whether or not there's a debris signature that's enough to tell us that it is on the ground and it's flinging things up into the atmosphere. This particular one, even though it doesn't include us, just want to show you what we're looking for. This shows a spotter confirmed tornado, and that's why there's a tornado warning. So Alabama is really getting the bulk of the most significant weather that is happening in the Deep South. We are on the northern edge of that, and we're just beginning to see it start. So as we continue to go through the evening, there may be more numerous watches and warnings issued throughout the evening. We'll keep you informed. We'll try to make sure you're able to watch your program too for those that aren't directly affected yet. But when it's this serious, when you have a tornado warning, we've had tornadoes with this system since yesterday, and they continue to issue tornado warnings for visible tornadoes, confirmed tornadoes southward of us. It is certainly warranted to be safe when we get tornado warnings of this magnitude in our area, and we stay on the air until those tornado warnings are certainly less impactful on us. And it does certainly can lead to some damage of people's homes, of people's property, and hopefully no loss of life, but that certainly is a possibility too when we see these storms on the ground. This is the first warning that has been issued for us here this evening. And we haven't had any severe thunderstorm warnings yet because we're just beginning to get that line come in. I'm going to show you, I'll get back to that in just a minute, but I want to show you the progression of what these storms are going to do to the rest of us overnight tonight. So you can get a timing of what these storms are going to be through the night when you're hopefully sleeping and not being awoken by severe thunderstorm warnings and tornado warnings. This is going to take you right here to 10 p.m. The thick of it is going to already be pushing into the valley, and this could be a little slow. It may come in maybe an hour quicker than this, but even at 3 a.m., we're going to still have more rain, more thunderstorms, and maybe more storms over some of the same areas, getting heavy rain back over the plateau, you notice, that could lead to that flash flooding. That's why the flooding concern is higher there and to the south. Now we go back up in time a little bit. It's looking better. This is 5 a.m., but still the northeast and the mountains could be having some storms. And then by about 6 a.m., much of that is going to be gone. We'll have a couple lingering showers, but it's not over yet. That's not the end of it. More pop-up showers and thunderstorms could come in Sunday afternoon and Sunday evening, and these do have potential to be strong, so we're going to have to watch those carefully too. Thereafter, that should be it for this weekend when it comes to this storm. The severe threat, I'm going to highlight it once again with the 4 panels so you get an idea of what we're concerned with this evening, is primarily a damaging wind risk. That corresponds to our severe risk panel very well. Even though the colors are different, they have different colors depending on what the risk level is, but it corresponds with it quite well, showing we do have a pretty significant damaging wind risk. And also a tornado risk. It has shrunk 10% in the southern counties. You notice they're in yellow, and that's the right upper quadrant. And it shows the tornado risk is 5% for the rest of us. Damaging hail risk, very similar to tornado risk. There is a possibility, but we haven't had any reports, confirmed reports, at least around here, of any hailstones coming out of these clouds just yet. Doesn't mean it's not going to happen, it's just a lower risk than everything else. Back to this tornado warning. Let's go ahead and inspect it a little bit. I'm going to close in on where it is. Let's look at some of these other properties to see if we notice anything interesting. This is the vertical liquid. It shows you how much rain could potentially happen out of this storm, and it does have quite a bit of moisture in the vertical column. When you get VIL levels higher like that, you can also get some very heavy downpours associated with it too. Tornado watch has been extended now. Let me go ahead and show you that because some more of us are included. Tornado watch now encompasses Knox County, and that's through 1 a.m. in the morning. So remember, we only had a tornado watch for those over the Cumberland Plateau and also up toward Jamestown into Fentress County. But now it's extended into the valley. So it includes Knox County, Blount County, also Monroe County. Those are McMinn, Loudoun. Anderson County too is included in that. Campbell County. And Union, you're not, but you're in that flood zone. We could possibly have some flooding. And then Roane County as well, Morgan and Scott counties, all included in that new tornado watch have been issued and extended out into Knox County. So this could be a night that we're really going to be on our toes and watching everything. We have the entire team that is working on different aspects to keep all of us informed. Todd Howell should be in here a little bit later on this evening, and we're going to be doing this together and keeping you informed on the severe weather that's happening. And then later, of course, Rebecca's going to be coming in, and also Cassie was already here earlier, but she'll be back later on as well. So we're all team is all hands on because of this threat that we have this evening. This is a pretty big threat too. We haven't had this for quite a while. Hopefully that's all it is, and it ends up being just a threat. Let's go to velocity. Velocity is still looking pretty good, as if there could be a little signature there with those particular storms, and very high winds associated with them as well as they advance toward Crossville. So in this area, that's where we see the turbulence. You see how the velocity toward is kind of wrapping in or circulating around into the away velocity. Now what's going on is the radar, Doppler, is sending out a signal. And that signal bounces off of whatever it sees, the objects. In this case, it bounces off the raindrops themselves. Well, once that signal is returned, it can decide, computer programs will pick up, well, how fast is that drop going and in what direction is it going? So that's a key there, and it shows us that there could be something upper level spin in that particular thunderstorm. Now there are other products you can look at too, correlation coefficient for instance. It can also show and demonstrate there could be some debris on the ground if that is actual tornado, but we haven't seen that yet, haven't any confirmations of anything like that yet. Heavy downpours definitely associated with. Look how heavy the rain is up to the north. Let me go up here. You get up in this area, just to the south of Livingston, and it's moving toward Crawford. That is quite a bit of rain. especially when we start to see some of the burgundy show up there. Precipitation rate, I mean, that has to be a little skewed. 10 inches per hour unless it's at the highest elevations. But that is a downpour that is happening at this particular time. Severe thunderstorm warning now for a few of us. Let me go ahead and go back to show you that. It includes Cumberland, Fentress, Putnam, and then some counties, back more toward the west. Yeah, Pickett, Clay, and White counties. So that's a new severe thunderstorm warning. There it is. Now you can see it clearly as I marked off all the rest. That goes until 7 p.m. due to the storms getting up to severe limits, and I'm sure it's probably due to gusty winds. It could be well over 60 miles an hour in some of these cases. Yep, hazard 60-mile-an-hour wind. Quarter-size hail is possible, although I haven't seen any yet. This particular storm system in that area, because there are a number of storms, not just one, they're moving to the northeast at about 40 miles per hour. At the moment, the line extends 9 miles west of Byardstown near Monterey, 6 miles north of Spencer. So that storm we're going to continue to watch. Now the tornado, let me go back to the tornado warning because it looks as though, once I can get to that graphic, takes a little time. Sometimes the computer gets a little sluggish, but tornado warning has been canceled. Thank goodness. So that threat of a spin, since it hasn't been confirmed, has fallen below severe limits as far as a potential tornado go. However, we still have severe thunderstorms that will be moving through the Cumberland Plateau and the northern part of the plateau and maybe even the northern part of the valley here eventually. So backing out, let me go ahead and just highlight what we have to deal with this evening. There is a tornado watch. It has been issued. A new one is extended till 1 o'clock for all of us, shaded in red. Now we'll cut in if there's a tornado warning again in the area. Just be aware of that, but we'll try to make sure that you're able to still see the importance of this tournament that you've been watching right now. In the meantime, just keep it tuned here. You can also go to WBIR Plus, and we'll be streaming there as well and letting you know about any impending weather this evening and through the early nighttime hours. So just stay tuned and make sure you have warning available either on your phone, make sure your alerts are set, or maybe you have a weather radio at night. Make sure that's all working, functioning correctly to warn you of anything that could be impending overnight tonight. We'll be back later.